please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda? Thank you.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to that's the thing.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Move on down to speakers, communication, informational items. Don, doing a conference call for air quality from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
On October 10th.
Aren't you lucky?
Wow. But I'm doing it here. It's actually in Bend, but right now, this way, if I need to get up and do some stuff during the conference call, I can at least come out of my office for just a moment or two.
9 to 4?
Yeah.
Is it a forum or are they hosting a seminar? What are we doing?
They're hosting a big seminar in Bend for air quality.
Maybe go up there.
Well, it's not that big. I've been to them. They kind of go over the same stuff, to be quite honest with you.
That's a long time to stay at my
Well, she puts it on mute, I assume.
Yeah.
and Listens while she gets some work done.
And do stuff.
It's hard to get
So,
have a
we
go for
talked
it. Don't
about
say
it.
she leaves.
Yeah, I did discuss it with Jeff because it's just,
Okay.
Yeah, no, I get
it's
you.
a lot.
Move on down to department reports. Scott's not here, Dennis is not here. Got Jeff. I read your report.
Yeah, other than what's on there, I did mention on there briefly, Daryl and I went on a little tour of the drainages, and it's just something that's been ignored for quite a few years, and we've never really budgeted money towards cleaning the ditches. Now we have more ditches, we have Roberta, we have Catamus, so, you know, if we have another situation like we had this past year, we'll probably be caught in the same situation, so we want to do somewhat of a preemptive cleaning of the creeks. So we're gonna have to spend some money. Daryl's been looking at some funds. There's, like I said, there's never been anything put towards that particular project, but there's money in utilities. I think we're gonna have to borrow money from sewer and water and do, you know, it's hard to put a number on it. We're gonna have to do somewhere between, I mean, the very minimum we can spend is gonna be about $15,000 with contractors. We need some excavator work done at the overflows, and but really, if we wanted to do a first-rate job, we'd probably spend closer to $40,000 this fall. So it's a matter of, you know, do we want to do the least amount and hope for the best, or do we want to, you know, it's gonna have to be done at some point. It's never gonna be any less expensive to do it than it will be right now. The price of fuel is not gonna go down.
Oh, sure.
A couple of rigs we checked on, you know, just a big excavator is $200 an hour. And we have truck, we can haul away the overburden, but, you know, we've just been ignoring Missouri out there for quite a few years, forever since we've owned it. We've done a little dinking around out there with a backhoe, never done a proper ditch cleaning out there, so there's, you know, probably 2 days with a grade all and 3 or 4 trucks for that. We got some stuff we need to take, some vegetation mainly we need to take out of Roberta. You know, we're getting ready to do this Catamus Road job, so it should probably have its ditches deepened before they start working on it, so we don't end up pulling in there with a grade all, you know, in the middle of winter or right after they get done paving it. So it doesn't really entail a whole lot out there. It could probably be done in a day with a grade all and 3 trucks or 4 trucks. So we need to make a decision on,
Well, Collins did some really nice work on their entrance
J
into
Street?
their, on Missouri, actually, where it was flooding out this winter. They put in a huge culvert going into the Woodside, I don't know what they call it over there, across from the scales. And I expect we're gonna see some additional water from that,
Right.
since it will flow a lot better. And there's a lot of garbage and vegetation in there.
yeah.
Well, when I talked to, I think Dee last year, he said that they could probably supply the excavator if we supply the trucks, because when they're not logging, then Neil runs the excavator, and he's good on that thing.
I heard about that offer, but that's kind of a, it's kind of a different thing to get done with a cooperative like that. It's our road, it's really our responsibility. What exactly are we responsible for if something happens, he hits a car or something?
Well, that, how much running around town we would wanna do with that excavator.
Well, that's something maybe you just need to go talk to Dee and him about.
Yeah, well, that would help out on that one road out there if they were willing, but a grade all is really the way to clean those ditches.
Right,
Their excavator, steel tracks,
It's hard on the pavement.
it's.
ours
hard
is
on
flat
paper.
track,
Yeah, but it's still iron,
yeah.
yeah. It's not grousered, but it's so,
What if we cleaned out what we needed to, Jeff, to kind of protect us for this winter and try to budget for it next year? So we can actually get in there and we can get a good survey of what we need done and get in
Yeah.
there and do what really needs to be done. Because you're right, there's a lot of overgrown ditches.
yeah.
And a lot of mud buildup.
Well, the inlet up by the pool needs cleaned out. A couple of the debris basins up the canyon need cleaned out. There's the one up Dead Man Canyon needs cleaned out.
The one at Millview, or at Mountain View and South Sixth Street,
Where the bridge is at,
you really can't
the
make
bridge
more.
is,
It's too big for a backhoe.
the
one up on
bridge
that
is
Yeah.
pretty much silted up underneath. So I'd recommend we do those.
Get those
High
done.
priority.
Yeah, make those high priority, and then let's do a good survey of what we really need to get done, and let's try to get it budgeted for next year. And that way, we're not pulling so much away from sewer and water.
And you're already on a time crunch probably a little bit, I would assume.
Yeah, we need to start in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you're gonna
We'd like to be done in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
You're gonna run out of weather.
Yeah, especially for the snow flies.
We don't really care about the snow flying, but we'll be plowing
It'd be
snow at that
frozen.
point, yeah.
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 I like the idea of just prioritizing the major ones and then try and see if we can budget that for
Yeah.
next year.
We're definitely gonna have to have contractors, to do the catch basins like at the swimming pool. And really, my guys, we can do some more, we can take a few willows out that are obviously obstructing, but we've just about done what we can do.
Yeah, dealing with the small stuff, and like you said, a grade also the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're gonna be at a time crunch for getting a bid and a contractor that's available. and
Yeah, and you know what,
charge you too much.
I think we don't wanna get a bid if we can get away with it. I think I'd rather do it time and materials, and then we know exactly where we're at and how far we're gonna get. And we can be our own.
Do we,
on it.
in order, do we have to stay under 10,000 to?
But we're probably gonna separate the 2 creeks into a project for each creek.
That's what I
And
was gonna say.
then we can also call Missouri a project, and we can call Cattermas a small project.
Okay.
So we'll try to keep it small as possible. I mean, we may get by just fine for the next 5 years, just like it is, but I hate to take a chance.
Well, like you said, if we have winter like we did last year, it's not
Right.
the snow, it's the sudden water. But it needs to be done regardless, so. I think
I agree, we need to properly budget for it.
Mhm. Probably need to build something in every year for that from this point forward, just so we can maintain the.
Well, and the thing with Missouri, you've got to watch for the fiber optic lines that's in there.
Now, just dig them up.
We could probably do a pretty good job for $20,000 if we could split it between the creeks. We could, there's a little bit of work to do on the sewer line crossing down on Bullard below the railroad tracks. That pipe is exposed. We could take it out of contingency. Sewer has 120,000 in contingency, and water has 196,000.
10 out of each.
Yeah.
10 out
Yeah.
of each, do what we need to do, and let's budget to finish the rest for next year. And that way we can.
We're gonna need to look at street budgeting pretty hard anyway. We need to start campaigning for a street bond, because we've got some terrible streets and no money to fix them.
Yeah.
Really nothing on the horizon, you know, gas tax or anything done.
Can we do a Lake County gas tax?
We sure can, and that's something we need to talk about.
Because most counties have that.
Yeah, about 50-50 in Oregon right now. 50% of counties are putting in a small gas tax on to cover road costs.
Yeah, in California, just about every county does.
You have
And
to
then
sell
you
the
get
car.
people passing through town to help them pay for your roads.
I wanna say it was Heinz that actually just did that, that just passed gas tax in the city of Heinz.
And, I mean, it's very minimal, it's minimal.
Yeah, it was only gonna raise like 35,000 for them, but,
Mhm.
you know, their streets are really narrow
I
and.
did some just
not a lot of cost.
visiting with Staubs over there, and I think we put like a 3 to 4 cent on, we could end up with quite a bit more than 35,000.
And our gas will still be cheaper in California.
So that's something we should review if it's, almost $1.
Yeah, we should.
But it's, something, yeah, if it can be voted by just this body or how.
I think it would have to go on I believe it has to go on
Yeah.
a ballot.
So we'll look into
I
that.
have to check with Jeff on that, but I think it has to go.
And let's not forget budgeting for streets early next year.
Yeah, we did request that before the budget this year, but
Yeah.
you know.
I don't think we got that information.
Yeah. So, all right, do we need a motion to that so we can,
If it's under the $10,000, I don't believe.
we need anything?
Oh, if you need a possible resolution, to turn that over those funds too.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's more than.
Well, we can have a resolution prepared for your next meeting.
Yeah, just have a, yeah, because I'm pretty sure it
We'll
requires a
double check with
resolution
Headland.
as a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just wanna make sure we do it right and don't get ourselves in trouble. We're good at getting ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, definitely have consensus that needs to be done. Appreciate you bringing it up.
That was my main point, other than my little report there. We did get our pickup, 1-ton four-wheel drive pickup from the US Forest Service. Took it over and had a plow put on it, so we'll have another option for clearing the outlying streets.
Is that something that we're gonna have an issue with finding a driver for? Like I know we've had in the past, an issue with the driver with proper insurance and whatnot? Or is that going to be a town employee?
That's gonna be, it'll be a public works employee.
Okay.
And it'll, you don't have to have a CDL to run this one, so that's nice.
Very cool.
Put Dawn in it.
I'll do it.
Stay away from my house.
Hey, I'm a good driver.
Okay. That's all you have, Jeff, then we'll go to Daryl.
I have a change order there, on the Cathermas painting project. After the pre-work meeting, they requested some additional time on the project, so this extends the project date. The reason for it was they wanted to pave Red Rock first and do ours last. We said that would probably be okay, weather permitting. If the weather doesn't permit it, we'll try to get it done sooner. Also, the striping, we deleted the striping out of the contract. Jeff decided to do the striping himself, so we deleted that out.
How many lineal feet of striping you have there, Jeff?
Beg pardon?
How many lineal feet of striping do you have?
It's about, that project is
2,000 feet long.
2,100 feet.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
Makes this place walk that.
we're gonna get a walk behind striper.
The cooling water for Red Rock, they said to go ahead with that project. So we'll be getting the loan agreement revised with Business Oregon. increase the loan amount, and we'll get the agreement with Red Rock revised to repay the capital expenditures. I don't know when it'll go out to bid. We're working with DEQ right now, because they add a lot of chemicals to their cooling water so we don't have corrosion, that sort of stuff. So I did an analysis and a dilution calculation on it, sent that to the DEQ. So as soon as we get those back, that project will start. Other than that, helping Jeff, and that's been
Your conversation with Umpqua today?
Oh, that's true. I did talk to the auditor today. He's going to start, one thing I did suggest to him throughout the year, that he made some stops, so he didn't have all this stuff to do at the end of the audit year. So they're planning to do that. I don't have a date for that.
So I have a question on the water issue that we've been, it's kind of on the back burner, it seems like. We were told beginning of the year that was up with, was it RCAC, or somebody remember that acronym? That it-
RCAC?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's been there for now 9 months at least.
Well, our RCAC really hasn't done anything with it. I mean, we've been the ones working on it. RCAC offers their assistance if they need it, but we've done quite a few of those. It is turned into Business Oregon, and you're right, it has got set on the back burner with everything.
Understandably, to some degree.
So we have the application pretty well finished with, for USDA,
Okay.
rural utilities, so we'll be forwarding that in. I would think we would probably get that in maybe the end of next week.
Okay.
Yeah, it has been set on the back burner now, I apologize. We had the wood stoves, I think everybody saw that. Those things we worked on.
So maybe it's just me, and maybe we'll relight the fire under everybody else, but, and maybe it was just this year, and how wet it was, but did we, has everybody seen everybody complaining still about our water? I mean, obviously,
Much less.
much less, I mean, we
On
had a
social
very
media
wet-
less, in person just as much.
just as much in person, so, yeah, as we inform and go through this process, and we inform the public that it's gonna be $20 to $30 potentially on top of your bill every month, regardless, for water. I just wonder if the same people who are always fussy about this would be a little bit less fussy, going, wow, that ends up to being $120 more a year, $180 more a year, I'm way under that, $240 a year and $360 a year. So, I mean, that's not a lot of money for those that are, that is a lot of money for those that are on a fixed inside income, and that's per account, so, I mean, obviously, those own other properties will, I'm just wondering if, as we go through this process, that, we're really committed to, going through with this whole, I know we voted to send it in, but we haven't signed any multi-million-dollar checks saying, yes, build
Well,
a system.
I guess my recommendation is that we finish the application process, we get that done, we get a final offer from the agencies. Okay, we're ready to go, this is what it's gonna cost. If you wanna reevaluate at that time and say, if you get a bunch of pushback, then we can reevaluate. But we kinda told everyone that's what we were gonna do. And the complaints won't go away. Jeff's done a lot better job of keeping the system fleshed out that was done previously, and that has helped. But it's not gonna solve the problem. So, anyway, that would,
It's gonna get really bad.
it's not gonna be,
It is,
When we
yeah.
can't flush, it's gonna get terrible.
Yeah.
it's not gonna be a huge expense to get ready to do the project. And I think at that time, if you wanna reconsider it.
I think it's nice to have more communication with the public again, and
last meeting, we you know, we got talking about, I think it's on the agenda again, this being on here. But like, out at the fairgrounds, and Ronnie came in and gave her spiel about us, you know, helping support the next phase of that planning process. You know, and then going after some money, hopefully just grants, but, you know, there's a lot, you know, that our community is seeing, you know, and, you know, we talk about, you know, road, raising a gas tax, or, you know, all these kind of things, and it's, you know, it's kind of, I think it'd be tough for everyone to swallow all these increases, and, I mean, there's other groups that are looking to increase too.
Yeah, my daughter came home talking about a school bond tax today.
So since she brought that up, so, you know, I mean,
Well, it's
that's
just like a
what I'm saying.
15-year-old talking about it.
Right, so, I mean, there's, you know, I think if we're, you know, just to be very transparent, I mean, if we're talking about, you know, a $20 to $30 raise on every month, and then you get, you know, a school bond, or all these other things, I mean, it's gonna start adding up. And, you know, for those that are on fixed incomes, which are probably a pretty good majority of the, you know, folks that are in town, you know, or just on government assistance of some kind, it's gonna get pretty tough, so I'm just, you know, just wanna make that, you know.
And I think there's, you know, we went toward the Bend water filtration system, which was pretty fancy, I will say. Have you guys seen that one? I mean, that's impressive. One person in there that mans that entire town, because it's all electronic and can be done remotely. And, you know, some of their numbers, things like that, and there's ways to, you know, like cut expenses, not putting fluoride in the system is definitely one of those. Along with the fact it's extremely controversial with people, so that's kind of a nice one to just say, hey, let's save ourselves some money, but, you know, we need to analyze some of that, definitely. In moving down the line here, you know, what it's gonna cost our customers. I do believe a lot of the customers use a water service, and I think that's where they'll see their improvement, is they can eliminate that, folks with this water filtration system. But there's gonna be some issues probably with some water lines within people's property lines, that regardless if we filter, once it hits their property line, they've got a 1900 home with possibly 1900 pipes, you know, they're gonna have some issues still. So we need to kind of take a look at that, because what I remember from our meeting that you had at the beginning of the year is that over 50% of the water lines are already newer than, what, 1980s? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct, yeah.
And
In
so, I
fact,
mean,
we had
that's a
that
good
colored
number.
map up, you know, that
Yeah.
was different, yeah.
So, I mean, and that's a significant number that I don't think people realize, that, you know, it's not a water line issue as much as it is a filtration issue. And you kind of need to weigh those benefits versus the cost. So, yeah, once we get that
Well, we'll get that
application
moving
submitted.
forward.
Yeah, and I know we agreed to move forward on the application process, I'm just, you know, I don't wanna give a false, you know, assurance that we are going to enter into a $10 million, you know, contract or whatever it may end up amounting to, without, you know, truly getting the public's buy-in completely on this, because there may
It will
be a
affect
law
that.
that says, no, I've been drinking the same water for 80 years, and I'm pretty sure I want to stay drinking it, and don't need another $20 to $30 cost per month. So,
Then the
there's gonna be a lot for people to weigh out, that's all I'm saying.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is the geothermal at the hospital. Can we get like a drop dead deadline where we push the issue that gets finished with the,
Well, the
I know the
meters-
issue, yeah,
Yeah.
the meter.
The meters got installed, we can read those manually.
Manually. So are we, I know we kind of discussed it a little bit. Are we
We have
doing
not
that?
went down there and read it, I have not, but I assume Jeff has.
I don't even know where they are.
So we'll go down and read.
Can we do that once a month?
I know where they're at. Well, it's kind of a once a year thing.
Okay,
We could do it monthly, but it's based on a total amount of heat for a whole year.
well, that's easy
That's
enough,
what the
yeah,
contract says.
that's,
So, yeah, it
that's
doesn't
works.
So-
check more than once.
Yeah.
I would like to read them at the end of the year,
Okay,
and then we have a whole year's data, and then we can
just to ensure
Kinda
we're
like
not
we do
going
Head Start.
over.
Head Start is read once a year.
Yeah, just to ensure they're not going over, we're not losing money there, you know, money that we could potentially be gaining.
Yeah.
It's a substantial amount, I mean.
Yeah,
We have no idea
the
what
new
they're-
ambulance building is set up the same way.
Will it be tied into all of those lines? Okay,
But it'll have its own BP.
It will,
inside,
okay.
Yeah.
okay, cool.
But it's a whole package deal with the hospital, that if it exceeds, say it's $1 million.
Yeah, if they
it's
build,
1.2, they're paying them.
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what they build,
1.2.
They're capped at this,
They're capped.
because they're still all owned by the same company, or
it's the same at the school.
Yeah.
The problem we ran into down at the hospital, we tried to look at them remotely, and we still can.
Mhm.
We couldn't get through the hospital's,
Firewall,
I don't know. I went and hired an internet consultant just on my own, because nobody seems to know how that works, even some of the IT people here. So we were able to get in, and we can find it, it'll find the unit, it'll beep it and tell us the unit's there, but we can't get any feedback back. So I'm gonna have to get somebody else to look at it. I'm not an expert in.
but if we can manually go down there once a year, I mean, I think that's fine, you know, yeah, we'd love to have it working eventually. Because I
I
imagine,
think we may find that they were above the originally agreed on amount, even just with the BTU meter in their main campus.
Yeah, we do have readings on the edit. Now, they do keep that, and they did make some changes in the hospital with utility, mechanical. They did get that valve in, changes, finally done some things
But if they're over and we don't know it, then we should be
there. We
expecting
should
a
be able to
check,
bill it.
and then we can pay the other folks in the room.
yeah, that's
The-
revenue.
One nice thing about the ambulance building is it's not a demand on the hot side of the system, it's taking its heat out of the return side, so it's a floor, radiant floor heat, so, you know, it's not gonna put more demand, so we'll have less available for the schools, or, which is the way probably that the first buildings, the common rest home should have been done too, and,
A little more efficient.
yeah.
Okay.
Of course,
We tried
we
to
wouldn't-
make that happen, I'll tell you that, on the clinic too. But it didn't happen. So they shouldn't be using, return water for snow melt, that sort of thing, secondary uses. But anyway, we'll come up with a number at the end of the year.
Perfect.
Anything over the amount, they have to pay $13.10,
Okay,
per
sounds
million
good.
BTUs.
Okay. Move on down to public comment period. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Rhonda Dial regarding dogs.
Can I just sit right here, or do I need to go up here?
You're fine right there. Just
Thank you. My name is Rhonda Dial, you all know me. I had the opportunity to visit with our sheriff yesterday, and him and I were brainstorming around about the animal control officer issue. And he came up with a really good idea, and I'm not trying to throw words in his mouth, we were just going back and forth. For one thing, he said that animal control issue is second only to the drug issue in this town. So he realizes that there is an issue and we do need to do something about this. But they have an officer ill, we have officers out in training, so it's not feasible to take this $15,000 and break off some and pay an already existing officer to help with animal control. That was my idea, for me to gather facts during the week and maybe give me an officer a couple hours on Friday, and he could just look at these things that are going on with already, you know, dates, times, pictures, you know, that kind of thing. Well, that's not feasible, like I said, so I asked him, what do you think we could do to make this happen? And he said that we probably need $50,000. And he also said, since our commissioners signed off on some ordinances and some Oregon state laws, some stuff, for our town that matches the laws in Oregon. They all signed off on it in February, and they stated that these laws need to be enforced and this, that, and the other thing. Well, we already have $15,000 that you guys set aside for animal control.
It's
If-
ordinance control.
What?
It's ordinance technically.
Right.
Which includes building.
Right.
But yeah.
So, I mean, that would help also, because if people are breaking the ordinances and they get ticketed, there would be more money. You know, both of these things bring in money. It wouldn't probably happen right away, but, you know, eventually it could possibly pay for itself. But what his idea was, is to get the town to come up with another 10,000, that would make 25 from the town, and then ask the commissioners to pledge $25,000 and get us an animal control / ordinance officer, and maybe, because the county commissioners are going to want the whole county covered. The
Right.
main problem is here in Lakeview, but there are other stuff in the county. So, like the sheriff said, maybe we could have somebody working here 3 days and then going out around Christmas Valley and other parts of the county for a couple days a week. Anyways, I just wanted to throw that idea out there, and I have a ton of stuff here that I would read, but it's just gonna bore you guys. Most of it is common sense. They are direct laws about you having to have somewhere for your dog to be besides under a porch. That's against the law. These certain things that need to be dealt with here, and people are neglecting and abusing animals at a crazy rate here because we don't have animal control, and they know it. They know they can get away with this stuff. And I just feel like it really needs to be dealt with, and I will do anything. I've told you guys, I have kennels. I will keep dogs there. I will work with the town at no expense. I don't need to get paid. I just want everybody on the same page to where we're doing this legally per our state laws and per the laws and the ordinances that our commissioners signed off on in February. So I guess what I'm asking here is for you guys to please consider throwing in another $10,000, and I will start hitting up the commissioners for their 25, so we can get something going here. I know nobody has the answer, but we gotta start somewhere. And I think that our sheriff had some really good ideas. And, you know, he's so willing to participate in this, but we all need a jumping off spot. We need this officer that we can, you know, get going. And it is going to be problems here, problems there. We're gonna have to make some adjustments and changes, but we've gotta start somewhere. We can't just keep throwing up our hands and going, man, this task is too big. The problem is huge. The problem is not bigger than this task. So just know, like I say every time, I am so willing to get involved. I have a chip reader, I have kennels, I have a cage thing that goes in the back of my car. I will do anything I can to help. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
We'll have to look into that a little further.
Rhonda, and I, you know, we've discussed this till we're blue in the face, because you know, I see the issue and I appreciate the efforts that you put in on your own free time. I don't know that you're free time, but it keeps you very busy. What we have to figure out, and one of the problems that we've kind of discussed even with the sheriff's office, is you have to kind of figure out where the fine money goes, because I believe, well, I know it doesn't come to the town, first off, as far as I know. They've never all paper trail it to the town, it goes to the county level, so revenue they receive, we don't see. So we have to kind of figure out what's been pulled in the past for tickets, what's being enforced, what's being followed through. The other tough part is our 15,000 for ordinance, which includes building ordinance and a lot of work that Dawn puts in, sending letters out for compliance with, what do you call them? properties that are
Not in
Nuisance.
compliance.
not in
nuisance.
compliance, fire hazards, things like.
Right, now, if we had an ordinance officer, you know what I mean, they could mount up and go out, you give somebody a warning, they
Yeah.
don't take care of it, then they start getting fined. There comes the money.
We would just have to kind of, well, so yes, but the money doesn't come to us on the town level.
Right, right.
So we have to kind of figure out or work out an agreement with the county, I think, to help those shared expenses.
Right,
along with
I
revenue.
totally agree.
But I mean, I think that's a good idea. We just, 15,000 is not what we have for dogs, that's for ordinance. So really, I mean, if we were to put, you know, we'd have to kind of put a percentage. So we would have to come up with more than $10,000 to match the county level. We would probably have to come up with 20,000 at least or so. Because that 15,000 was majority for, that we, if I remember correctly, when we budgeted, was for physical property ordinance, not animal ordinance.
Animal control was put in, I mean, it was in there.
Well, our
with it
discussion,
somewhere.
when we did the
That was
budget, I
just a
mean.
comment that Roberta made off the cuff, because I
Yeah.
was standing there when she did it.
Yeah, it wasn't, when
It
we
does not
budgeted, yeah.
specify, it does not specify, animal ordinance. It's
Oh, Lord
15,000 per ordinance officer.
It says PT ordinance officer, 15,000.
Yeah.
That's specifically what it says, which isn't a defined position with, you know, job duties assigned and all that.
Yeah, which ordinance officer would handle dog issues also.
Essentially a placeholder so that if we did work out an agreement with the county or, you know, we'd be able to actually take care of this. So, you know, I think, I'm glad that you've had discussions with the sheriff's department, and I think there needs to be more there. You know, going back a couple of years, we had a full-time nuisance code enforcement officer at the county level. Obviously, that transitioned back to a full-time building official, and that's where the money went for that, so, and, you know, so we don't, the county doesn't have one at this time either, other than, you know, other duties assigned to staff, and so, we still take complaints, but the dog issue is definitely
It's huge.
something, it is huge, and it's interesting, it's ranked second, I wouldn't have thought it that high, on the sheriff's, you know,
But it's the
list, but
hazard,
it's-
it's the people, is I
Yeah.
think the greatest concern that we've seen.
I mean, similar to, you know, deer being a hazard to people, so, I mean, it's, we've got issues, and, I appreciate you bringing it up, and I think, you know, we need to have, maybe even form a small committee, similar to when we transitioned to the sheriff's department with our police force, so if we could, you know, get a couple willing to, you know, step up and kind of lead this, that'd be fine. I'm not willing to do that.
Well, I am more than willing, I've, you know, done the same thing, I've dealt with, you know, conversations and trying to brainstorm and research and figure out what the heck can we do to fix this problem. So I would be more than willing to work with Rhonda and Sheriff Taylor and anybody else willing to step in and
Thank you, I appreciate
figure this
that.
out. I think we're getting,
Yeah,
we're
right?
starting to figure
When I was
things
talking
out.
to the sheriff, I'm just like, are you kidding me? We're on the same page, hooray.
I mean, I get it, they are, you know, they
It's
got
definitely an issue,
bigger
there's no doubt
problems to
about
deal with, but yeah, we need to deal with it. Doesn't mean we can't still find a way to solve the problem.
Right, it's not gonna go away on its own. I mean, honestly, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but before I started doing this, it was even worse. You know what I mean? Now, everybody knows if there's a dog out, whatever is going on, to get a hold of me, and I will mount up and go take care of it. But before that, it was pretty crazy.
And we do have ordinances in place on the town level that coincide with the county, basically saying that we follow the counties, which ours are really, really old. And there's fines associated. People are supposed to register their dog. There's fines for every time your dog gets out and consequences after so many.
Yeah, I've got all that here, I just
Yeah.
didn't wanna bore you guys to death.
Yeah, I don't think people realize that those are actually legally a document. We just don't have the means to enforce it
Yeah.
at this point. So, but thank you, I appreciate you doing that work. So we'll keep in contact and keep going through and figuring out where we can go.
Thank you, and if there's, you know, if you form a committee, all you gotta do is let me know, you know I'm gonna show up.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on down to letter regarding stop sign on South Ninth at the railroad tracks. What have we come up with on that, Jeff?
I had a chance to visit with Kevin Hawk with the county roadmaster about it, and he said he was aware of the situation, that they had also talked to him about it, and he said, in his mind, it's a terrible idea to try and control vehicle speed with a traffic control device like a stop sign. And he said he was totally against putting one out there on the railroad tracks. The only place you can really put one is at an intersection, and he said then you're using a stop sign to do something other than what it was designed for, which is control that intersection. So he says it's an enforcement issue, and it should be taken up with the sheriff, and if there's repeat offenders or multiple. And was there something in the letter about, did somebody point the finger at some of the Forest Service? Because I visited, some people said that some equipment and stuff on there. I know a lot of contractors are using that road now. You know, maybe we need to reach out to, we'd sign the road better, we put more speed signs on it, and we could talk to the people that are using it the most, just kind of survey it ourselves. We could stop at the Forest Service and say,
I have no problem talking
in
to them and letting
case,
them know.
you know, maybe your people are in a hurry or something, we just ask people to be, you know.
Swinnerton's your biggest issue out there. They use that road, that's where they get all their deliveries, come in that road for the
Right.
solar project, and a lot of their employees use that road. But
Yeah,
I'm out at the Forest Service all the time.
Right.
And most of who's speeding out there are the contractors off the Swinnerton project.
yeah, I can just about guarantee no one in a Forest Service vehicle is gonna speed, because it's a huge no-no.
No, they get their butt chewed
And
pretty good for
everybody
that.
knows who's driving what, yeah.
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 So, the complaint was people are coming in from Stock Drive, crossing the railroad tracks and still doing 35, 40 when they get to Birch Street.
So when we had Andrew Rucker in here, and he was complaining about, you know, the trucks coming off, you know, north of town,
Flashing.
and obviously the NODOT was able to put up one of their, you know,
Reach boards up there.
yeah, just, yeah, the speed, you know, as you're going sign. Is there, we probably don't own one of those.
We do not.
They already did it.
Uh-huh.
They already put a radar thing out there.
Down on that?
Mhm.
Oh, really?
Yep, it was there, what, a couple weeks ago, a month ago?
Don't we have a sign across the track?
No. There's not a sign.
There's no yield sign,
Not
there's no
even a yield
anything out
sign.
there.
Which I can't understand how there can't be, because,
Don't we have some speed limit signs on the other side of the track?
On this
Yes,
side of the track.
There
yeah.
is one, but
Yeah.
nobody ever abides by it.
and I personally feel they're very small. I feel like they're not significant. Too big. They're the smaller ones, if I remember correctly, like this.
Well, we can get some.
So I think partly why I
24 by
wanted to
30.
have you guys talk to the roadmaster was to determine whose actual jurisdiction that was, if it was ours or theirs, and then looking at the map, the town limits end on those lots of Birch, but not knowing if, you know, on that side of the tracks, is it county jurisdiction?
Even
or
this
something?
side
It
of the
is.
tracks, I
This
believe,
side's
little
ours, I
ways.
think.
I think a little ways, this side of the tracks is ours, or is county.
Yeah, but it's not very far.
I mean, it's like-
Yeah, but that's what I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering if it's,
It's like 20 feet.
you know, I mean, if it's not even our jurisdiction,
It's
it's
probably
county.
just past the east of the tracks is where it probably changes.
Where the speeding is occurring is
Yeah,
our
yeah, it's into
jurisdiction.
town, yeah, I understand that. And that's just- But if we're gonna put up any signs, I mean, jurisdictionally, it shouldn't be our cost.
That would be
if it's
county
not
on that
Is there a speed sign out there?
Yeah.
It's just not very big.
So if
I'll
you're
get some new,
coming,
I'll get some new speed signs.
I feel like that helps personally. I mean, obviously, you all know where I live. I don't think I even know where the speed sign is on that. And I know I've looked for it and it's tiny and that
It's
to me is.
25.
I know that, because I'm the one that drives 25 and get
No,
passed
you're
by
the one that drives
vehicles on that
125.
road.
We've got all those speed bumps out there.
I would love to have speed
Have
bumps.
to go
You got
fast.
speed bumps.
You got potholes out there. that's
Can't
Well,
they-
yeah.
Can't
Cross, cross, range
Can't
by.
they patrol that a little bit more?
You know what, the
Right,
last
so
time I actually talked to specifically OSP, and they nailed people there left and right, and they did a great job, and then we had a lot, and made some serious drug busts on that road, because it's an easy one to pull people over, because everybody goes over 25. I mean, they
You're
go
talking
over
about on
35.
your street.
Yeah,
Yeah, they can do
Same
that.
thing.
Can they stop them on Ninth Street as well?
oh yeah, I think
The
they do.
OSP?
Yeah.
They stop
Yeah,
anywhere they
but
want.
Yeah.
don't we pay the sheriff's office to do that?
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're also short-handed a little bit too, you know, that's the tough part, but we could, you know, ask for a focus.
We're all short-handed.
Every one of us.
Yeah, I mean, we can ask for a
I'm
focus there,
short-handed.
but I'd like to see what we could do to minimize that to begin with. Perhaps just putting a bigger stop sign and seeing what that does, or what's the expense to putting the flashing light above the stop sign? Are those significantly
The
expensive?
flashing signs that react to speed are about 15 grand.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That's why we was looking at them
And you
down
have
there
to
from
have a power
school.
source.
well, they have solar ones now.
Well, why can't we make the sign a little bigger on the other side, on our side of the track? You know, it's just on the other side of the track.
Yeah.
right? Can we put one down,
Nine
Stock
further.
Drive, further to the west that says, you know,
Speed zone ahead.
speed zone ahead?
I mean, that is technically county, so we'd have to get their permission,
Yeah.
or the
And
county would have to.
surely that,
but
surely
yeah.
that, surely.
I've asked in the past, and he said, if we want to sign up to petition them, and they would put it up. We cannot put signs on their road.
And that's ODOT?
No,
Or is
that's
that
county.
No, it's county, we can't put it, we can't do anything on county property. That's up to the county to do.
We can send an official letter to them, we'll put a sign.
And usually they will, I mean,
Oh,
Shasta
so-
County, I don't know, I'm sure Lake County is the same way, Shasta County is really good about working with the town, with the city of Reading on signage and stuff.
What is
I bet
the,
they'd be glad to put up a speed zone ahead. I'll get a hold of Kevin again and say,
Okay.
well, you know, we've given up on the stop sign, what about a speed zone ahead? And I'll put a brand new 25 mile an hour one right after it.
and then can we look into whether or not there's an obligation for the railroad to put a yield sign there at least, on both sides?
For the train?
Yeah.
There's not a railroad crossing sign there?
There's a railroad crossing, but there's not a stop sign or yield
There's not a
sign.
stop or a yield, I know.
But by
that.
law, you're supposed to yield at a road crossing regardless of the smart
Yeah,
canal.
I'm just not sure if
So they're probably not gonna put a sign up. You'll learn railroad is one of the hardest people ever to deal with.
I don't think
Well,
that's-
this isn't the, yeah, you're correct on that, but this isn't.
This isn't
main
the
line.
normal
This
railroad.
isn't, this isn't the
Yeah.
normal railroad.
This is
Um,
Lake County Railroad.
Oh, usually they paint those on the road,
Did they want a
railroad
stop
crossing,
sign?
and I didn't
They
see
wanted
it.
a stop
Oh,
sign.
no, that, we can't put a stop sign. That isn't good.
I think people would probably just blow it, honestly. I don't know if you can see it, but.
Okay. Well, let's move on down to Kathy Miles, Lake County Rental Program regarding the request. Have we come up with anything, Jeff, before we can come up with that? You know, anybody?
I personally looked over the budget, the problem is, and obviously this would probably be, your financial gal's expertise of where that would be allowed. I don't see anything that I knew where it would be allowed to pull funds from.
For what?
For
excuse me,
$5,000
mentor
for the
program.
mentor program. I mean, I don't think we could do it out of Parks and Rec legally. And I don't even think the money's there in Parks and Rec, just, I mean, parks, Parks and Rec, but.
Boy, I don't know. We'd have to look at that.
So, can
Yeah, we
maybe,
can look at that.
yeah, I
We
mean, I
need to
know,
table it until they can
Yeah.
look at it. So I make a motion to table that until we can figure out where the money can come from, or if we could even come up with the money.
and I know that Kathy probably would love an answer. We really wanna find you the money, I mean, I can speak for myself, we really wanna find you the money, we just have to take it out of the right account.
Yeah, well, just so you know the need, just yesterday, we identified 12 new kids who need mentors. We're running, I know it's not your fault, but our budget is a mess because of prior management. And we're running close to using over half of our reserves, and if we lose all our reserves, then next year, if we don't get some grants, then the program's gone. And in just one day, I had 12 apps from kids who need this. And of course, I'm also then looking for mentors, so it's just something that, it is a benefit to the city because we're helping kids stay out of trouble. And so I would just like to really say, you know, kind of beg you to find that $5,000.
So if we can, we
We
will.
will, yeah, I can say that for myself.
It's definitely a program that everybody at the council wants to be a part of and be involved in. It's just, we're kind of suffering from the same thing as far as our budget goes with prior issues.
Yeah.
We'll take a look.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but we'll definitely look at it and see.
Have
if
something
we
at
can
the
do it.
next meeting?
Yeah,
Okay, do I need to be at the next meeting? Okay, 'cause I just.
we know your plea. I did get, thanks to you actually more than anything, but I think we got a new mentor for you.
You
But
did.
she doesn't come with any guarantees or warranties, so you get what you get there.
None of our mentors come with any guarantees or
Maybe my
warranties.
teenage daughter.
Yeah, so, and if anybody could see it in their heart to be it, especially men, out of those 12 kids, at least half of them are males, and I have maybe 3 male mentors right now that I can place, so the need is definitely there. I don't know if this is too public news yet, but I won't say the name, but we've hired a new director as of yesterday, so there'll be a little bit more I'll be there to guide it along, but there really is a need, and I'm working on grants, and I'm working on cleaning up some messes.
Well, let's figure it out together somehow, hopefully.
Okay, so if I don't have to be there, that's good, because I hauled here from North Lake. I know you told me I didn't, but you tabled it the last time, because I wasn't here, and there's no way I was gonna go again.
It wasn't a gotten table. No, I was
We
ready
just
for
gotta
it.
figure out where it
Yeah.
can come from. That's
That's great.
basically
Thank you.
where-
Thanks, Kathy.
Take care.
Okay, let's move on down to new business. The time extension paving request, you pretty much mentioned that. So, is there anything else under new business anybody wants to bring up?
When are they looking at possibly paving it?
Yeah.
Oh, I would say it would probably be, first week of November. Yeah, it's late. The reason that they wanted to do Red Rock first, so they weren't hauling.
And that makes complete sense.
It makes sense, yes, it does, but it puts us in a little bit of a line.
Temperature
And if we're
issues.
not comfortable with the temperature, it's not gonna kill us on our CMAQ money if we have to go into the spring. And
So we can put it
And they
winter-
said they
winter
would honor the
extension.
price in the spring.
Okay, do we have that in writing?
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, that makes a big
Yeah, but
difference.
what the good thing is about this, is their plant is not that far, they don't have to haul it very far.
No, but if
Well, they gotta
you're paving
remove
cold
that
ground, you're
one.
paving
Right.
cold ground, you're gonna have a failure.
Like, even if they have to, they would
They
honor the
still
price.
said they
They'll
don't,
honor the
regardless
price.
of that. Well, that's
Yeah,
something
that's-
to keep on the back burner. I
And
mean,
that's not a big enough project that's gonna affect them too bad financially. So put it off.
Okay,
Do we have a
Yeah,
temperature
we can get
spec
back
in
to
that contract with them?
Yeah. Yeah, we do. That was the CMAQ fund, so we had to use the ODOT spec.
Which is, it's usually 50 and rising. I don't
Yeah,
know
it's
what
50 and rising for the airtime temperature, yeah.
Same
Actually, I
temperature.
paved a lot colder than that, got away with it,
Well, we paved in Susanville when it was snowing a couple years ago.
but, yeah.
But they had to use money by the end of the year, they would have lost it all for the following year.
The specs are the ODOT standards for that job.
Oh, that's standard, okay.
Much rather have it done this year.
Oh, definitely. But I also don't wanna pave it and have a failure either.
Mayor, I make a motion to accept the contract change order number 1, Town of Lakeview, Camas Road paving as presented.
Second?
okay, do I hear a second?
I have a second.
2 seconds.
Motion made, carried, or passed? I'm not even, not even thinking right. Okay, let's move on down to mayor, council, manager updates. Council have anything?
Been on vacation for 2 weeks, I don't know.
Your feedback on the conference. Do you have any?
Yeah. There actually is some grant money for safe routes to school.
Yeah, we've used that before. It's been a while since the town has used that.
Yeah, I talked to, it wasn't the gal that handles it, but it was one of her associates, and Nikki has all my information, but I'll get a hold of her and find out what's really available. There's actually some structural grants for sidewalk repair and ADA ramps around the schools. And there's also a, what they call traffic grant for speed signs and stuff for the schools. And they're targeting smaller communities with those funds, so Lakeview would definitely qualify. And that's gonna be starting up here again pretty quick. And I have the contact information, and what I'll do, Daryl, I know you and Jeff are busy, I will call her and find out what we need to do if we decide to move forward with that. And get.
We have used it for sidewalks before,
Mhm.
but that's been a while, so,
They had a lot of money this year, she said.
okay. So that's good.
What about the money from Hayden Homes? You remember what that was for? What was that? The,
You have all my information, so.
I know, and I'm totally forgetting what. it was a grant for helping address housing needs.
It's housing units, it's not,
I'll have to,
you have,
or my purse, what's in his
she had a duffel bag, so why did I need to carry everything around?
purse? And then the, what was the other one that was really good?
The water filtration
The water
system was
filtration
really
was
a
very
big
cool.
deal.
Very impressive. They do have good water. They do
Was that
have
for
good water.
Avion?
No, it
No, it
was
was
the Bend
the
water
city of
filtration,
Bend.
yeah.
Water filtration.
I mean, I'd love to send you guys, I don't know, you said you've seen it?
Yeah, it's been a while.
This is
This
their
is a
new
new one.
system. It is
It's
pretty
actually,
impressive. I'd love to send you guys up there. It's, they've won awards. They have a completely remote system.
they have the best water in the state.
What are they removing from their water?
Not much, because they
It's
start out with
really
good
good.
water.
That's,
Yeah,
they,
that's
so
the
they do
thing.
have two different things. They have,
Gold, right?
yeah,
Gold, yeah, to fund the system.
they've got, but they were, I mean, look at
They
the
had some
numbers. I wasn't that, I mean, I felt like they were low numbers.
They tested positive for some parasites
Okay.
through DEQ, and so they had to put the system in. So it was, I think they have 70 million into that system, but that included all new pipe and everything, all in, you know.
And it's
Are they
way up
taking
there.
water out of the river then? And
So
They've
they
got
have-
some wells, and they also have groundwater collection in ponds and lakes and streams, yeah. It's a combination of all. But they can't pull out of the well, they have to separate the wells from what they call groundwater collection.
I mean, they're way up in the hills, and they've got, what was it, 12 miles of pipe
12
or
miles
something?
pipe, yeah.
That they bring down. So they're starting with some really good water, yes, especially in comparison. But, I mean, just the way that they looked at it, they're looking at, you know, like what could happen down the road and population. I think they said something like the population numbers are looking at extra 30,000 in like 3 or 4 or 5 years. And they're totally prepared for it. And it's pretty impressive. And then they had a system shut down when they had lightning strike some of their equipment. And that's always been their big fear. And they managed to not even affect water flow because they were ready to do a press release saying, okay, you're gonna only use water at these times or these home addresses, you know. And they totally managed to hang in there, almost like they're reserves. So I just think there's a lot to learn there, and you know, we're not gonna have anything like that, but it is pretty neat. I mean, on a much smaller scale would be pretty cool.
Yeah, the pulse system is what they're using for the filtration.
Yeah. And then the Coffee with the Cop was great. We had a large turnout.
It wasn't bad.
Pardon?
No. Good.
And there was no donuts. They weren't allowed. And, you know, good public input and conversation. All the agencies showed up. So that was really great, and I appreciate that. I will try to organize one in the evenings for those who can't make the daytime ones, maybe 6 months from now, ideally.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I got a phone call from a gentleman who was interested, I should say, in purchasing the old daycare. Wants to make it into apartments. Said he'd strip the whole inside of it out. He'd already talked with Rob Thornton a little bit, but he lives in Eugene and said it'd probably be 3 weeks before he could get over here, but he'd like to look at it. If the city's willing to sell it, I don't know what we're gonna do with it otherwise.
I think if we decide to sell it, we have to put it out for everybody,
Right.
for a bid process, which,
You'd have to determine it's surplus property and then put it out for
I mean-
surplus.
And would we need to be paying for an actual appraisal on it?
I would recommend
No.
you had it appraised, otherwise, I don't know, I'm not a
We'd be
real estate
guessing.
expert, so.
even having a lot of years in real estate, I would still have it appraised, because our market here is extremely
Yeah.
off. It's not consistent, I would say.
That'll, did he even give you a ballpark of what he was thinking you'd pay for it?
No, he wanted to know what we wanted for it. I said, I have no idea, I don't know what it's worth or anything.
I'm not opposed to using it, classifying it surplus. I have concerns about what would be put there.
He wants to put apartments there.
Well, I mean, but we can't guarantee he's gonna get the bid, or.
Well, we can't guarantee that that falls land use either without a zone change, so that's single family residential right there, not multi-family residential, so.
If you guys remember correctly, there was an issue with them wanting to do the Saturday market down there.
Duplexes and
Due to
stuff.
parking or
Yeah,
because-
parking,
No, just because you're running the Saturday market down there, and it was a big, huge issue with the zone change.
yeah.
You guys remember
That and
correctly
parking was both issues.
with what John Cannon said, so.
Yeah, it's not zone multifamily.
And it takes about
It's clearly
90
in the middle of
days.
that yellow, and it's not,
Yeah.
I mean, duplexes are fine, but not apartments, not any more than a duplex. So, I mean, it's something we should get Jennings, weighing on that too, but I still think it's like all our town-owned property that may be surplus or should be in use of some kind. We need to inventory it, and we need to figure out what's our game plan.
Police car.
1 year, 2
Would
years,
you like
5
to do
years,
that?
10 years, I mean,
Well, police cars, we just get with GSA and get those.
yeah.
We're still paying insurance on all those. I was looking at our insurance bill the
And
other
that
day.
lot was horrible.
Paying
That's terrible.
300, well, I tried.
Yeah.
He said, oh, you don't wanna do that, you don't wanna do that without council's consent, because what if somebody climbs over that fence and gets hurt on one? I said, well, they're still on town property.
Well, yeah, auto insurance ain't gonna cover that.
So-
$350 a year per vehicle, there's 6 on the insurance.
There's the money.
There's 5,000, yeah,
There's the money that.
So let's,
I would say.
I'll get with GSA and see what we need to do to put them up for auction and get rid of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need it. If the sheriff doesn't want them, which he clearly
Yeah.
doesn't.
No,
we need
he
to get rid of them.
doesn't. They were just
We
waiting
don't need to hold on
until.
to them.
He's
If we
ordered
ever got
his
that
vehicle.
program back, we would figure out how to get some.
We would
They
have the
wouldn't be using
possession
those
of
cars
the
anyway,
vehicles.
'cause they don't use that.
So, no, I talked to him and he said.
But there is an expense to,
Can we have an auction ourselves? Can we?
you can get,
Surplus auction,
yeah, you can get, you have somebody come in and do an auction.
We've got 5 there, I've got a pickup and a Bronco I wanna get rid of,
yeah.
7.
We sent it to
You
you,
can
yeah,
call,
surplus and empty.
The guy that has the auction on Bly, he
Yeah.
can come up and do an auction there. But you've got to de-identify those vehicles and you've got to pull the red and blue lights off of them.
All right,
And that expense,
the
I
radios,
guess,
everything's gotta be stripped out of it.
mostly the
Basically.
decals are paid. So, yeah, we need to figure out how much. I don't enjoy it.
So, and I could help with keeping the expense down on decommissioning those.
I don't think we need GSA for that, I bet they're gonna be so low value.
You could have Grant come from Bly, and we just have to advertise it as a,
Vehicle.
as a city-owned vehicle auction, because they have to, and that they have to be advertised as police vehicles.
Yeah.
So, now that's, you could have anybody can come in and do it.
So I'm gonna remove all those police vehicles from the insurance right now, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, you can
We
put
don't
liability,
intend to
but.
drive them again.
The only one-
Check with.
The only thing that you gotta worry about, the only thing you gotta worry about is if you move them off that lot to have them decommissioned.
And we're
you've got
paying
that covered.
for mechanics on them, and I don't know why we're paying for mechanics on them. I mean, if worst case scenario, one of those completely catches on fire, did we lose a ton of money?
No, we never burn.
It would not be worth the man hours to put it out if it was.
No, we get marshmallows and
Well, and
hot
some
dogs.
of those expenses are probably from our fire trucks too, if you guys remember our town fire trucks in town. The fire vehicles that we use also come out of that
I
fund.
know the sheriff, I think, is using 2 of them, the Crown Vic and one other.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the ones that are parked in on
Yeah,
H
those,
Street.
Yeah,
yeah.
so I would look into which ones specifically, make sure those are canceled.
The sheriff's using 2 of them?
I believe so, I know,
No, he's
Not that
not.
I'm aware of.
The
People-
Crown Vic has been driven all over town, so
Yeah.
yes, one of them is being used.
yeah,
I've
because it
seen
was
it.
parked in the county parking lot.
Cause I've seen it being driven, it was driven
Yeah.
over Fair Weekend.
Over Fair Weekend, they used it. Tucker Fairburn drove it, and one of the other deputies drove it, so.
I'll talk to Taylor and find
Yeah,
out.
they need to insure it if they're gonna,
Well, yeah, exactly.
So, and then we need to make sure we're not spending any more money on maintenance of those vehicles. Because I know they've been maintained a little bit and there's no point in us doing that.
Yeah.
Well, they got two ready because they were gonna send them to the academy with the guys, I know that.
Yes.
And then
The
they
ones
had
that have had their
changed.
tires punctured, do we wanna,
No.
we're gonna sell them on flat tire?
No, we'll have to get some, we'll have to just get with Mile High and see if we can get some used tires.
But don't do it till right before auction because there's no point. They're gonna get punctured again probably.
They'll have to be done so they can be moved to be decommissioned.
So,
You're talking about taking all the stickers off.
You gotta pull stickers off, you gotta pull radios out of them, and you have to pull all the red and blue lights off.
Everything,
They don't want somebody to buy it and then use it to pull somebody over.
okay, we'll move forward with that. And then what about the property? Do we have a current inventory list of property for the town? Do we have any?
We have, I don't know where it's located, but we definitely have, you know, we've got a list of vehicles for sure.
Would you guys object
What are you
to
talking about, real property?
real property?
No
Well,
problem.
the county.
She's changed gears around a bit.
Sorry, in my head I did.
Real property wouldn't take very long to put together.
Because I figured we might as well, if we're gonna look at one, we might as well do the whole thing and do an auction of review.
Real auction is different
Not
than
an auction,
property.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame.
But we might as well do all of it at once,
Yes.
if we can.
The town has quite a bit of real property, most of it is in our Bullet Creek watershed. But there are a few pieces.
But focus on vacant or unused,
Okay.
pretty much, and.
We own one down on Birch Street, I was never sure how we got, right next to Gerald Stewart's.
Oh, I know how we got that, because that was dedicated as a street. So I would think that probably came when that, because part of that, I'll have to look at that, because there was another
It
street.
doesn't line up with the street.
There was another street to that plat, and, okay, yeah, I know where that's at.
Because we have to go down and weed eat it at his behest
That was
7 times a year.
Drop a giant roundup on them.
I don't know how they got that through planning.
Is that on the same side of the street or the opposite side?
Well, there's a street that goes down there now. When it gets down to the end and turns by the creek, the original plat had another street coming down the tracks tonight.
An alley kind of right now?
No, it was a street.
Oh.
It was dedicated as a street, and there was another row of lots there.
Well, I mean, right now it's being used as an alley to access the backside
Yeah,
of the
because
property.
I have to look back and see how that got, do you remember how?
I don't remember how, I mean, I'm very aware of the situation.
Yeah. I think the town kept the alley, I'll have to look back.
Okay.
I can't remember.
That's not something that we would be able to reasonably sell. Is it a long skinny section?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me look and make sure.
The alleys got vacated, and what was to be the new street kind of got turned into an alley along the rear access, because each of those properties was given the option to buy the property behind them.
And I think a lot of them
I
actually
think
do
all
own
of them
it.
have.
Not quite all, but a lot of them do.
I don't think so. Janine and I just went through this with, a big shop that was built back there.
Hmm.
And she had got all the information for it. And that was last year.
Like 3 houses I know that are using both sides.
Yeah, they do. A lot of them have been, and nothing's ever been said or done about it. Nobody, and I believe, Delbert McLean, had some information that we got from him as well.
Where's this at?
Right
Behind
behind
Birch
Birch
Street.
Street.
runs
Next to the
parallel
tracks.
the railroad tracks.
The town.
I think the majority of those properties bought that property behind them.
I would imagine they would have to build something, but, I mean, some of those are pretty sizable. I don't know.
Are you talking across the road or just right behind them?
Right behind them.
Oh, then I thought you were talking about the ones across the little road thing there.
We'll
Because a
get
lot
some
of people are
info.
parking
We'll get
stuff
some-
there too.
Okay. Or anything else?
The wood stove thing came through, I guess everybody saw that.
Yeah, this should,
Yes, thank you, Daryl, that was much appreciated. I'm very grateful.
We got 75,000.
Oh,
35,000.
Yeah. Klamath got the big award. Of course, Klamath's non-attainment, that was a fairly hard think it could be good, but anyway,
The wood stove replacement program
yeah,
for residents.
yes.
And it's not just for wood stove replacement.
What else does it cover?
Dry wood storage.
Dry wood storage,
Oh.
heaters, other, there's
Upgrading
other
your
upgraded
systems.
stuff. Like, I think we can use it for replacing windows in houses that have broken windows. I'm not quite sure how that all works, but there was stuff that was done with that before.
And I can't remember, is that a repayment or a grant?
It's a grant.
It's a grant.
Grant.
So people can start applying eventually?
Right, once we get the process, we're gonna try to do an inventory. I was amazed, nobody knew how big the problem was, we didn't have an inventory.
I thought we had a wait list last year. or-
Well, people that
have
had
a
applied,
wait list.
yes,
Okay.
We don't know how
How
many
many
wood stoves
stoves
are
are
out
out there?
there that are not compliant.
Ah.
we don't know.
Okay.
So anyway, Carmen actually did that.
Yeah,
Yeah, tell her thank you, we appreciate it.
all right, nothing else, then we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 5:13.